Someone decided to flush the toilet in the middle of a conversation.
That's all right. Considering what we've been talking about, it seems highly appropriate.
Yeah, at least it's not a train whizzing by.
Yeah. You said whiz.
Right.
Whiz.
Trains don't whiz, do they?
Nope. When did I mention that game? Don't whiz on the electric fence.
Oh, yeah.
I brought that up from Ren and Stimpy. There was one episode where I mentioned that.
Yeah, I can't
Playing with
remember what it
electrical
was.
equipment, I'm like, don't whiz on the electric fence.
I'm so messed up on where we are on things right now.
When you discuss a movie 1 minute at a time, you just want to shut down. When
And
you're
it
done.
all starts blending together.
Inside this room, all of my dreams become realities, and some of my realities become dreams.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here? Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You are listening to The Wilder Ride, getting wilder by the minute. Here are your hosts, Alan Sanders and Walt Murray.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Wilder Ride, Getting Wilder by the Minute, a podcast where we are breaking down and celebrating the film Young Frankenstein, one kissable finger at a time. I'm your host, I'm Alan Sanders.
And I'm your co-host, Walt Murray.
And joining us once again from Seinfeld Minute, we have Dave Delassandro. Dave, thanks for hanging out with us.
Hi guys, welcome back.
It's awesome to have you back as well here as we've shifted from the theater over to now the secret laboratory of Dr. Frankenstein, and he and Inga are certainly in deep conversation, and glad you're going to be here to help us wrap up this week and this minute number 85. We are going to start with the doctor still chatting about if we could find a way, and we're going to end with the lowering of the lift and Frau Blucher in the room watching the lift slowly coming down. That same lift that we saw Frankenstein's creature being raised with Dr. Frankenstein on top several minutes ago. Dave, we go right into the scene where we last left, and Dr. Frankenstein, as that's what he wants to be called now, a Frankenstein, is in the middle of trying to figure out what's the answer. The only answer is to relieve the pressure on his cerebellum. If he could find a way to equalize the imbalance in his cerebrospinal fluid, why, he'd be right as rain. Of course, in the script,
Right as rain.
in the script, he's supposed to be, he'd be as normal as you or I. But we're going to have some scenes here taken out, but my first thought is to go straight to you, Dave. This scene here, it's a very close, intimate shot, and we said yesterday that Dr. Frankenstein finally feels some concern for his creation.
Yes, finally he's feeling some empathy for the monster.
Walt?
Yeah, he is. He's feeling something, and and again, it just is funny to me that he is completely oblivious to what Inga thinks about him. And
Yeah, so oblivious as to be staring off camera into nothingness.
And what I'm trying to figure out here is, as he's kind of staring off and he's trying to work it through, you know, if I can reduce the cerebrospinal pressure, I can make him right as rain. He covers his hand. He just can't deal with it. And then all of a sudden, Inga, who's holding his other hand, I gotta tell you, it's a very innocent thing, but at the same time, it's a bit of a turn on here.
I don't know how innocent
A little
it is.
bit. A little bit.
Well, I mean,
I
it's
think
not
she
like
knows where this is going.
Well,
or where she wants it going.
I don't know. All I know is this repetition of the kissing, which the first time it's like one kiss, then it's like two kisses, then it's like three kisses, and he's like
It's
mirroring
turning
it,
a little comedy routine.
and he's mirroring it with his
Yeah, it's funny you mention that. I only noticed his little noises with the subtitles turned on.
Yeah, but he's not even looking up while she's slowly
No.
kissing the tips of each
Yeah,
of
the
his
other hand is
fingers.
still over the face.
Well, and it's almost like she's bringing him from this state of depression and his scientific mindset and trying to think through the problems to, wait a minute, let me help you fix this problem in another way.
Okay, well, let's stop there. Stop just for a second. How is this soothing the doctor? Like, how, does this work?
Well, I know you're Catholic, but you're married, right?
No. But when you're in a really bad, wait a minute. I'm not leaping forward. First of all, yes, I am married, so already we know nothing else goes on. I am married with children, so we absolutely positively know that there is nothing going on. But I'm talking about at this point, though, the kissing of the fingertips, the gentle brushing of her lips against each of his fingertips is... When you're in a bad mood, Walt, when you've come back home, you're following a suspect, you've been working the case as a PI, and then you get caught at the red light, they get away from you, you're mad, you're ticked off, you come home, you cover your head, your wife starts kissing your fingers, does that make all the problems go away?
Yes.
Oh, geez.
Yes, it does. Or at least it's a good attempt at making the problem go away.
I guess I've been doing it wrong.
You have been doing it wrong, my friend. Yes, this is the universal fix-it-all.
Well, okay, I get... Jeez, oh, Pete. I'm trying to keep it clean.
Easy now. It's a family show.
This exactly.
I'm just saying that
it's a family creation
her
show.
attention
We're about to create a new family
to
member.
his plight and the stress that he's under. She's just trying to help relieve some of the tension.
But...
That's a good assistant right there.
That is a good assistant.
I get she's trying to relieve his tension, but she's... Oh, gosh, how do I get into this conversation?
She's trying to relieve his tension.
It's just... I mean...
Keep trying.
I keep trying
I'm
to
a little
figure
more tense down here.
Yeah, slowly working her way down one finger at a time.
Right. She knows where she wants us to go.
But okay, she is in a different mode than he is.
Yes.
I get she's seducing him at this point, or maybe allowing the sense of trying to bring him some sense of calm or some sense of relief or a distraction.
She's trying to seduce him.
But is that what you do in this situation? Is this... I mean, it just feels weird that she's taking advantage.
I'd be fine with it.
I mean, I know you would be.
I'm good with it.
I know I would be. Dave would be. Up until this point, he's been totally oblivious.
Totally oblivious. I mean, even earlier when they were, going to reanimate the monster, and he says, "Elevate me," and she's like, "Here, right here," and he's like,
"Well, yeah,
oh yeah, go ahead and raise the lift." And so she has always kind of had that relationship on her mind.
Yeah, I get it. It feels she's out of nowhere. Like before he said, "Elevate me," and he was making the move. He's not making any move here. He's not giving her any sign that, hey, the door's open if you want to kind of open it in and come on in.
She's decided that he's vulnerable and she's going to take advantage of it. I think she has kind of wanted a relationship with him from the beginning. And I think she's just making her case.
Well, she's making a great case, but
she may make the best
case.
That's
the kind of case I want to be made on all the time.
There's only one time when he finally realizes, and it really is just a brief moment, his hand pops away and his eyes are wide open. It's like, bing! And that's when she puts his hand on her chest.
Right. He is definitely oblivious.
Well, until that moment. That's the only time, because he's been making the little, yes. But he's almost been sort of like, okay, I'm feeling relief from somewhere, but I'm not sure where that's coming from. It's almost like he doesn't know why. It feels like he's totally detached for that moment.
Think about the crappy relationship he's in with Elizabeth. He's not used to this kind of attention.
Well, that's true.
And
maybe that's why it's so exciting just to have somebody kiss your finger.
Yeah, he's just happy to have a pretty woman in the room with him, paying any kind of attention to him, much less trying to seduce him. So, yeah, I mean, he probably is somewhat coming from a place where that's just not part of the relationship.
All right. Well, Dave and Walt, I have this script here that we need to consult because there's about a page and a half that has been completely removed from the time she puts his hand on her chest and the time Frau Blucher makes an entrance at the top of the stairwell.
Let me jump in just for a second before you get on that. Is he still wearing his tuxedo in this scene?
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
And she's wearing the that sparkly gown.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they came right from the performance with the monster, and now they're still in the same clothes. They didn't bother changing into their lab clothes at all.
Well, I'm sure they came back from the jail trying to get him bailed out. And,
right, because they know he's in chains.
Yeah, and but yes, they basically came right in, and they're down in the in the laboratory. They came straight in.
Yeah, I would imagine if we have to fill in our heads that they went down to the police station to try to see about getting bail money, see if they can get their friend out. They're saying, no, we're going to keep him overnight. Maybe they even had a chance to see him through the window before all those angry people started yelling nonsense and Walla Walla background noise. And now they're home because his first thing is, chained like a beast in a cage, which is how we ended the last minute. And we're continuing the conversation with him coming up with his only one answer. So he's so distracted about how do I fix this problem now. I don't think he would have had time to change. I don't even think changing his clothes. Well, right now, changing his clothes is not on his mind.
No, not changing.
Not at this point.
Not at this point. Well,
changing out of them, possibly.
Well, we've talked about like Bob's Deadheads and the brain. I want to say the brain suppository.
It's not
the brain depository.
Terry,
the brain depository. Thank you. What would the bail bondsman company name be?
Oh, can you imagine that? The number of monsters and creatures and mad scientists running around. That bail bondsman is always got work going on.
Oh my gosh!
You could have an entire Fall Guy kind of show based on going after the mad scientists who skipped out on their bail.
Oh, no doubt.
I might jump an open drawbridge or Tarzan from a vine, 'cause I'm the unknown stuntman that makes Eastwood look so fine.
Yeah, literally Dog the Bounty Hunter.
That would make for... You know what? Hold on.
Willie Werewolf's Wild Bail Bonds.
We should put a pitch together about what happens when all of the monsters and mad scientists and creations skip out on their bail, and here's the team that has to go hunt them down and get them.
I think Fox might want a piece of this one.
From silver bullets to garlic to crosses, they are ready to go. Got scenes where look at Drac. Come on, it's night. I came by at night per your request. But if we pull this, if you drag this out, I'm bringing you out in daylight. Yeah. And you know what that's going to do.
Well, and episode 2, somebody left the werewolf's crate unlocked again.
Wah, wah, wah.
It could be an interesting little sideshow. I don't know what the bail bondsman does. I don't know who goes out. I don't know what PIs they may have to track these people down. But one thing is certain. At the end of this particular little moment, when they've come back and he is distraught and he does seem to really care about the monster, while he's so, fixated on how can I fix it? If I could only relieve the pressure in his cerebellum, or his, what he calls his...
The imbalance in the cerebrospinal fluid.
Yeah, the cerebrospinal fluid. Why, he'd be as right as rain. And while she's kissing him, he finally realizes with the hand on chest that, bing, there's something else happening here. The script has us moving forward where Freddy says, it can't be, you know that. And Inga goes, I know. Freddy says, there is a very strong physiochemical reaction between us. I mean, let's face facts. Yes, doctor. But we're not children. She says, no. He's looking at her. And then Freddy says, we know very well what we can and what we can not have. And she goes, I think so. Freddy says, it's terrible the price society demands in the name of fidelity. After all, what is fidelity? Ultimately. And Inga says, not fooling around. And Freddy says, yes, of course. But what I mean is, not fooling around physically or not fooling around intellectually. Their lips are almost touching. Inga says, I see what you mean. Oh, doctor, I've always wanted to know exactly how fast is the speed of light. And Freddy says, 186,000 miles a second. Now Inga and Freddy are on the operating table under a white sheet. Only their heads are visible. In Freddy's right arm, he's smoking a cigarette. And then Freddy says, there can never, ever be anything physical between us. You know that, dear. She says, I know, Frederick. But an intellectual relationship like this, well, we could have as often as we wanted. 3 times a day. Anything. And that's when Frau Blucher enters.
Okay, so that part of the script shines some light on a conversation that will happen in a few minutes. That
we could have an intellectual conversation. That's okay. In his mind, they just had an intellectual... They had a very stimulating intellectual conversation.
Yes, highly.
Maybe that'll work. I'll go home and say, honey, the kissing of the fingers, I know that's not a thing anymore, but can we have an intellectually stimulating conversation?
We need to have a conversation.
Heavy on the word stimulating?
Yeah, unfortunately.
I think I saw that the scene where he talks about 186,000 miles a second. I think that was actually a deleted scene. I think I saw it on YouTube, or they had a collection of deleted scenes, and that was one of them they actually did film.
They did, in fact, but he kept breaking every single time, and it just wasn't fit. First of all, it didn't fit in the flow, but yeah, he just kept breaking over and over and over. And this is an example of, again, I think too much dialogue. I know he's trying to set up, hey, if we do this, sort of wink, wink, nudge, nudge, it's not because we're doing anything physically, because that would be wrong. But as long as we're doing it intellectually, well, that's okay.
Right. Sure.
We're talking about justifying.
Makes sense.
I guess.
I buy it.
Yeah, as a man of science, you have to have some kind of formula.
Yes, and stick to it.
I'm suddenly back to Temple of Doom, where Willie and Indy are having that conversation after the whole really weird odd dinner party that they were attending. And she said, so you're like a scientist? And he's like, yeah. It's like, so you would like to study sleep patterns and things? And he's like, yes, nocturnal behavior, hours of field research. You know, it's all about the science.
It is about the science.
Yeah, of course. And by the way, the imbalance in his cerebral spinal fluid, it sounds like they took it from an episode of ER, where they throw on a bunch of, like, medical jargon, which they make to make you think like they know what they're talking about, but it's really, like, just some random words thrown together to make it, it's not real.
Not real doctor
really
speak. It's
accurate. It's there for the sake of the joke.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Because I actually had to have a procedure where they had to inject some dye into my spinal column. And apparently initially while I was on the table, they must have hit something a little too hard and my body reacted and I passed out. But as I was trying to come to, I was flailing and they tore a small hole in my spinal cord. And it was going to heal eventually, but they said, you've probably lost some fluid throughout that hole until it kind of like fills up. So I had what was called a spinal headache because I had a misbalance of the fluid in my cerebrum up in my skull.
Oh my gosh.
And for about 2 days, it was like having a migraine.
You were the monster.
Yeah. And let me tell you, all you're going to have by rebalancing the fluid is you're not going to have a headache anymore.
Wow.
Wow, you lived it.
I did.
Amazing.
I lived having my cerebral spinal fluid out of balance.
Yikes.
But then again, you also had a normal brain to begin with.
Well, that's true.
Well, Dave,
wait a minute.
We could spend a lot of time debating that.
Easy,
and,
Walt.
We may or may not have time today to cover.
We're not prone to burst out into fits of rage and then immediately pass out briefly. So, as far as we know,
and we don't have the medical professionals here that we would need to.
That's true.
Really flesh this out like we need to. Oh, too bad we can't take some callers.
I could go home and get treated like this. I willfully came here. This is awesome.
And you're among friends.
I know. This is great.
Maybe that's your problem.
You guys are fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like
By the way, the right as rain line, that's an expression I've never heard in my life ever.
Really?
Other than, like, Monty Python shows, possibly. I think it's a very British type of expression, but I've never heard it.
It's a very Southern expression, too.
Southern, is it?
Yeah, both sides of my family are from the South, and I've definitely heard both of my grandfathers use that term.
Oh, all right.
Either that or they were just highly intellectual.
Well, it does originate from Britain, where rainy weather is a normal fact of life, and indeed W.L. Phelps wrote, quote, "The expression right as rain must have been invented by an Englishman and was first recorded in 1894.
Oh, you're on top of this, man. Good job.
I try to be. Considering what you guys were just telling me a minute ago.
We didn't say you were dumb. Home. We just said you were crazy.
I wasn't dumb.
I don't put words in my mouth. I'm just here as a guest, so you can fight amongst yourselves all you like.
So anyway, but of course we know that there's the second British set phrase that Gene Wilder issues because the whole "damn your eye" earlier when they first meet Igor, who was hiding in the little row of heads, and he goes, "Too late." That's a very British expression.
Damn your eyes, yeah.
Well, and, again, we couldn't find a Transylvanian or Romanian term to use. We have to keep using
A British term.
British terms.
It's just Mel Brooks being silly with this movie.
Yes.
Actually, I heard "Damn Your Eyes" in Caddyshack. The Scottish who was the guy
McFinish,
the Scottish attendant, whatever he does.
Oh, right.
Help me out here. He's like the main greenskeeper. When Bill Murray's staring off at the women putting, he says, "Damn your eyes."
Definitely coming from the UK. So it originated in Britain, but I'm assuming it spread throughout the Isles. It was actually, if I remember when we covered this before with when Igor showed up, it was a curse, a common man's curse to noblemen or something about, you think you're so great. Well, damn your eyes. Maybe you go blind and not see all the great things you have.
Ah. Yeah. Literally, damn your eyes. Curse your eyes.
Exactly.
Your eyes,
it is literally a curse that the ordinary
you go
common
blind and not be able to see
as
all your extravagance. Wow, that's ironic.
And there's actually like a double joke there with Igor as a child always locking himself in the bathroom and his dad banging on the door. You're gonna go blind.
Oh, that didn't really happen.
No, he did say, why don't you give somebody else a turn? What are you doing in there 7-8 hours at a time?
Leave me alone. Don't open the door.
He's doing it again every night.
Leave him alone.
There's some recurring there's a recurring joke throughout this entire underneath this. Boys just being left alone. All right. Well, speaking of someone who's no longer left alone, it's obvious at the end of this moment here that we're watching as Inga continues to kiss, puts his hand in his chest. We've got this dissolve almost to where actually it's not even it's a slow wipe. It comes down and it wipes to Frau Blucher making an entrance. Walt, I commented on this when we were rewatching the minute before starting. She's had such a harsh delivery with her lines every time we've seen her. I think this may be the most calm and almost now non-Frau Blucher I've heard her.
Just a normal conversation.
It's just coming in. She's just, "Doctor, where are you?" Yeah. It's like a normal voice.
And this is the first time she also has not been in control of the scene and of what's going on with it, or at least where she's not seeking to control it and turn the doctor into Dr. Frankenstein.
Well, I think she already heard him admit, "I am Dr. Frankenstein."
She's happy. Mission accomplished.
Maybe that explains her disposition here. She's no longer, mad Frau Blucher. Now she's almost. This is happy Frau Blucher.
Ecstatic.
Could you tell by her smile on her face?
Yes, her lessened scowl.
Yeah, there's not quite the crease in her brow. Yeah. Not quite the furrow in her brow.
They cast this so well. I mean, she just plays this part so great.
What's awesome is she comes, she knows she must know because when she makes her entrance, she looks down and around. We realize she's looking around the lab. And when we think about it, the last we saw Doctor and Inga, they were downstairs kind of around where the raised platform is.
Right.
So Frau Blucher looks over the edge, peers down, kind of looks and puts her arms above like, they're not here.
Not here.
Until she all of a sudden hears something like, "Doctor? Is that you?
Where are you?
Where are you?"
What is it?
That's awesome. Because we don't know where he is either.
Why would they get on that platform and go up into the sky? That's privacy?
Well,
I don't know. They're looking for privacy.
Here's the thing. At the very end, we know what's coming early next week. But when the last second ticks down of this minute we're discussing, minute number 85, we don't even see a person yet on the platform. We know because that's coming tomorrow.
You just hear his voice off camera.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden we hear the platform lowering, which, Walt, this will be something we can talk about today, and I'm sure it'll carry into Monday. There's nobody else in the laboratory. Yep. How in the heck is this thing lowering?
I've thought about that many, many times over the years, that it took the two of them on the wheel cranking it down and up and down when they were reanimating the monster.
Because the last time she needed to elevate him, she had to be at the wheel. Apparently this time she doesn't have to be.
Well, we've talked about earlier on that some things in the castle were very kind of ancient from the 30s and some were updated. Maybe the union guys have gotten in there in the last week and made the upgrade and now it's, it's an automatic.
They put a little bit of electronics on the table itself so you can just hit a button, down you go.
We could probably read into this. we talked about that there's no way that when we last talked about he was going to take the monster and show the world what a great invention he is since the invention of fire, we said it had to have been months. And then if it had been this had been an 80s movie, we would have had the montage of him training training his creature. Well, that would have taken several minutes, several months to probably get to the point where he's ready to do a song and dance number. During that time, Igor needs something to do. Maybe it was a project.
Sure. Maybe.
Igor's like, I'm tired of turning the damn wheel. He's got to go out.
That would be very Igor,
It really does a number on my hump.
Yeah, it does. Igor went out and researched all the different options for raising and lowering a reanimation table.
Got in touch with an elevator company, said, I know this is not exactly the same thing, but could you guys install maybe a wench or some kind of a system to help raise and lower this damn table?
Well, I'd say that, when they were maybe servicing the dumbwaiter, he mentioned, hey, look, we've got this other issue. Could you guys take a look? And
yeah, while I was riding in the dumbwaiter, I realized, could we do the same thing with the table?
Makes my life a whole lot easier.
That would work.
That would. Yeah, same company, so...
We've already got a contract on the dumbwaiter. We'll
might
just
as well
install a bigger version of what you would put on a dumbwaiter to raise and lower the platform.
Yeah, change it from your manual to your automatic.
Dave, for your benefit, we talked about this back when the doctor actually first was going up and down on this platform to reanimate his creature. But since we're hearing that clanking noise of it lowering here at the very last few seconds, that is not a Foley effect. There was some behind-the-scenes notes that they built a true working set here for this particular scene, not only the lab, but of course for the raising of the creature. There was a 35-foot tall set, and when you hear the clanking, that was actual on the set recording of what it sounded like to raise and lower the platform.
Nice. So actual gears grinding and such. Wow, that's great.
It's such a cool sound too. I mean, you've got it's almost like the sound of a drawbridge lowering from, kind of classic Renaissance movies.
I was just going to say, it sounds like a bridge type of sound effect. Not that I hang around a lot of bridges, but I can piece together from movies and cartoons. Yes, that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's a real castle-y kind of sound.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a castle-y sound.
Very metallic and stone type of combination noise.
Me think 'em like stone and metal.
It rock.
When did Mongo show up?
I thought you were talking about Stonehenge.
This is so stupid.
Hey, count on us, folks. We're always down the rabbit trail.
One thing we should point out before we start to close off the minute is when Frau Blucher is searching around, she's got something in her hand. It looks like some piece of paper in her hand, and I'm not sure what exactly it is, but she's rushed into the room with something in hand. So I think we should pay just particular note.
Probably. I'm thinking on Monday we may need to look at that a little bit. Give that some serious consideration.
Absolutely. All right. Well, there's not much left then to discuss because I'm curious what's going on the platform because we heard his voice, but we're not sure where they are. We can make an inference, but we're not sure exactly what's been going on either. Oh, I can't wait till Monday. This is going to be interesting. In the meantime, Dave, before we finish up this minute number 85, was there anything else, though, you had in your notes? You mentioned something yesterday about Cleveland.
The bit I mentioned yesterday is that Terry Garr was born in Lakewood, Ohio, which is on the border it borders Cleveland as well. So there you go.
So not too far from where the Seinfeld Minute hails from.
Right, the Seinfeld Minute headquarters, only about 20 or so minutes away from Terry Garr's birthplace. So we're practically, I'm practically bumping elbows with celebrities every day here.
I bumped elbows with her birthplace.
Well, up until what we may have to infer here, the only action Dr. Frankenstein ever had was bumping elbows with Elizabeth. So.
That was right.
It all comes back.
It does. Big cycle. Well, one thing that's interesting about her is that she really does what a Germanic-ish accent here fairly well. I mean, she does a good job with it. And I'm kind of I catch accents pretty well when I'm talking to people.
It's a good thing you don't have one.
Yeah, no, I don't. Not at all. And I'm one of those, I actually spent 9 years in Ohio as a kid, so you'd think that I'd have a more moderated
That may be where the speed comes from, because you're one of the fastest talking Southerners I've ever run into.
I'm a fast redneck.
Not since Ricky Bobby took turn 3.
Yeah, I could probably do auctioneering pretty easily.
Oh, I love that. I love the sound of a live auction.
Yeah, when they're moving, it is really impressive.
Hey, well, all right, sir, open the gate and let them out and welcome, boys. Here we come, lot number 29 in. What are they going to give for 'em? I'm at 25 to get 35, another 50, make it 50, bit of long, 59, 60, we'll give me 69, 75, and 85, and 95, 100, and 25, and 50, 75, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, $100.
It almost sounds like banjo picking in a way.
Maybe that's why I like it so much.
It's definitely the style because do you realize there's actual auctioneer school?
Oh, yeah.
You have to be certified and you have to go to auctioneer school to be an auctioneer.
And it is like a low percentage of people actually graduate from auctioneer school.
It's a true legit thing to do. And the reason I know that is I've got a couple of people who come into the radio here, and I've been to several charities for some nonprofits where they are in high demand to come out and try to work up the crowd and build up the auction price. And it's very much about, can I get 5? Can I get 5? How about 10? How about 10? How about 10? Give me 5. Give me 5. Give me 10. Yeah, I got to 10 over here. 10 over here. 10 over here. Can I have 20? Do I have 20? Do I have 20? Do I have 20? Come on, give me 20. Give me 20. How about 15? How about 15? I'm like, take a breath. Take a breath.
And to get through as many auctions as they want to get through in a day, too. I mean,
so it's a combination of learning how to work the crowd.
It's necessary for the job, yeah.
It is.
And I realize it really works the crowd up. You start getting excited hearing the auctioneer deliver the auction that way.
Yeah, it does.
It really pulls them in. And I've watched a guy take a $1 bill, got Chipper Jones, who was in the audience, to sign it, and auctioned off the signature of a $1 bill for $1,000.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Great for the charity. All it was signing a $1 bill, but the auctioneer got everybody so lathered up to get Chipper Jones because he had just announced this was his last season with the Braves. And of course, now he's a Hall of Famer. So somebody actually has a valuable signature.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the time, somebody goes, "You're going to auction off a $1 bill for $1,000?" He goes, "Yeah, watch. As soon as I get Chipper to sign it, no problem."
Yeah, and I'm sure it went fast.
So and for folks who don't know who I'm talking about, Chipper Jones, Atlanta Braves, we're in Atlanta. So, retiring now Hall of Famer Chipper Jones.
Yeah, and a big Atlanta guy. I mean, everybody in Atlanta knows him. But, Terry Garr, interestingly, in several things that she's been in, I have not been able to pick up what her accent is. So it would make sense that she was an Ohio person because that area of the Midwest tends to have a very neutral accent.
Yeah, very newscaster type of an accent.
Yes. Yeah. And you do see a lot of newscasters from the Midwest. No, you're from Detroit.
What do you think Michigan counts as, dummy?
Michigan's just barely in the U.S.
Michigan is Midwest. Retard.
It's like Canada's little brother.
Hello, Limo. Jesus. I just gave you a 1941 reference. Where's the submarine? The ocean, Limo. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, another one of our favorites.
Yeah, well, I do hail from. I'm happy that I grew up in Detroit when I did because I didn't gain any sort of colloquial accent.
Right.
But what's great is since I have the non-accent, I can usually do accents. I can pick up, and I usually make a lot of voices happen on this. Even on this podcast, I've been known to make a voice or two.
And I've never been able to do accents very well, but I can pick them up real easily.
You do. You got a good ear for it. Dave, do you guys ever play around on the Seinfeld Minute with accents and voices? Do you try to imitate your Jerry and all the folks and Cosmo and
Oh yeah. We delve into every aspect of everything on each episode as much as we can.
All right, since we've got you talking about that, and since I brought it up, let's give everybody an idea that if they're a Seinfeld fan, if they go back, they catch them on reruns, they own the seasons on DVD or Blu-ray, and you've got a podcast where you actually allow your audience, allow people who follow you to decide, okay, what's the next episode you're going to break down 1 minute at a time.
Yes, on our website, there's a poll where you can vote on the next episode we'll be covering. So far, the one that's in the lead, I think, is the Gum episode.
Oh, that's a great episode. The one with the theater,
right?
That's being restored.
Lloyd Braun, yes,
yeah, and that's the one with Jerry having those huge, thick glasses.
Yes, the glass. Not to be confused with the Glasses episode, where George gets prescription glasses.
Which that episode has
from a blind man.
Yes, and that episode has my favorite line of any Seinfeld in it. And it's
Was it the air conditioner?
No, close. It's when Kramer walks in and George has been saying,
I got it.
They're not women's glasses.
Pulls on the shade. installed.
Well, and Kramer looks at him and he goes, "Hello, madam." And he's like, "These are not women's glasses."
Oh, yeah. George is eating the pretzels.
Yeah.
May I have one of those, madam?
Yes, exactly. So it's just such a great show. And again, another one where so many of the one-liners from that show have made their way into
There's a million of them.
cultural awareness. Our zeitgeist, if you will.
Hey, you listened to me. Aw.
No, I picked that up somewhere
You
else.
used a big word that I used. I'm so proud.
It's such a great word.
I'm so proud. It's like this is the best thing since the creation of fire. I feel like I've got my own monster who's learning things.
Oh, yeah. He got a monster. But it's such a great show, and I bet y'all are having a blast going through it.
Oh, it's a hoot. Yeah. You see so many things that can only tell, they can only pick up on 1 minute at a time. I try to pick up on every last detail of every scene that we watch, but there's still some things that go over our heads. But that's the fun in researching these shows, is seeing, look at that piece of artwork in the background. What is that? There's two of them that look kind of similar. Let me research that and see what I can come up with. And it's things that you barely even notice, like the different cereal boxes he has above the fridge. What are those different cereals? Oh, there's a box of triples. I haven't seen that since the 90s.
Yeah.
They stopped making them way back then. And it's like, he's got a box over there. It's upside down for some reason. Wow. You got to delve into that for 10 or 20 minutes.
Well, the guy who runs the bakery in our local grocery store owned a bakery in L.A. when they were doing Seinfeld, and he baked all the pastries that were ever on the show. And every single pastry was always
black
fresh.
and white cookies. The
black and white cookies.
Napoleons.
The Napoleons. The
cinnamon babka.
Yep, he did the babkas. He did the when they did the muffin tops. He did all those.
The marble rye.
Yep, the marble rye. So he did every baked item.
Do you guys need a moment alone? Because I can come back.
We're just doing.
Just let the tape roll. And
Yeah.
I didn't know. When you said way back, you said, "Hey, I'd love to be on it." I didn't know you actually meant now.
Yeah, well, just keep recording and we'll delve into the next episode. That's no problem.
What I'll do is I'm just going to export this, send it over to Dave. You've already got your show. You don't even have to worry about it now.
Knocked out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a smattering of Seinfeld.
I guess I need to find out who did all of the pastries on Young Frankenstein. We haven't come across that name yet.
We only had the
cabbages and lettuce from the performance earlier.
Don't forget, we had the Black Forest cake. So we had the
That's right.
Whatever that's called, the Schwarzstorch or something.
Yeah. Yes.
We had to have our German counterpart tell us how to pronounce it. Anyway, well, it sounds like you guys could have a lot of fun getting together on this Seinfeld Minute. And if you're a fan of Seinfeld Minute is worth just Googling, finding, get the website, and check out some of the past minutes. Dave, I'm assuming you could pick up the show or subscribe at most of the places where any podcatchers catch a podcast.
Yes, we have a YouTube button. Not YouTube. We've got an iTunes button you could click on, subscribe through that. I think there's also Podnova and Yahoo podcasts, I believe. There's links on those as well. But the website is basically just a repository for posting the sites. Most of the actual heavy lifting is done through iTunes, where you can just grab them all through there and enjoy them at your leisure. It's a lot of fun.
And I'm going to do a double plug because right now I know the way Apple changed a lot of their metrics not that long ago. If you like what you're hearing on any of your podcasts, whether you're listening to Seinfeld Minute or The Wilder Ride or any of your favorite podcasts, take a second, help your podcasters out by going to iTunes, finding the podcast, leave a comment. Don't just leave a rating. That's great if you leave a 5-star. We all love the 5 stars, but if you don't leave a comment, that 5-star is almost considered fluff, like anybody can just write 5 stars, but it takes actual effort. And if you've taken the effort to leave a comment, that puts a whole lot more weight toward that vote, and that really will help give more visibility to some of your favorite casters.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And by the way, if you're into other Movies by Minutes podcasts, you can check out moviesbyminutes.com, where there's a long list of people dedicated to podcasting movies 1 minute at a time. They were nice enough to add us to the list, even though it's a TV show and not a movie, but it's along the same vein anyway. And one more thanks to Harper Harris of The Thing Minute. I know he's a friend of yours. He got you into this whole movie by minute analysis thing.
I blame him entirely.
Yes, he was a guest on, I think it was episode 17 of the Cheever Letters for us. And it was like we had to break it down into 2 parts because it went pretty long, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great guest to have.
Awesome,
Really
yeah.
appreciate it.
Harper's a great guy, and if you're even just a mild fan of the movie The Thing, John Carpenter's 1982 just brilliant practical effect movie, go check out The Thing Minute. It's just fantastic, and if you haven't relived The Thing in a while, they just re-released it not that long ago on Blu-ray, and it's beautiful. Get it, own it, have it.
Yes, I was not a fan of The Thing very much. I saw it one time, maybe 10, 15 years ago, and I'm like, all right, that's okay. But listening to him break it down minute by minute, it got me really interested in it, and I became a fan. And now I really like it. The movie is amazing. And to hear somebody's passion about a movie that you're kind of a casual fan of turns you into a fan.
It does. And it's a really good horror sci-fi flick.
It really is. And I realized listening to some of their minutes how much depth there is to it that I just didn't really realize watching it once or twice a few years ago.
So. Oh, there's more to it than it's not your typical Jason or Splatterfest. It's a really good movie.
It really is.
Yes.
It's very well made.
And it has some of the most, still to this day, I showed this to my girls not that long ago when they finally got old enough to handle these kinds of movies. They went on this tear for a summer. They said, we want to watch the top 100 scariest movies of all time. And when The Thing came up, I'm like, I'm sitting down with you girls watching it. And it held up. They didn't think the effects were hokey. They loved that movie. They were like,
the effects are amazing.
Yeah, so it holds up over time.
It does.
You know it's kind of silly. You know, most of them are just rubber monsters and whatever else. But just the fact that they aren't CGI'd makes them, it's almost like you can touch them yourself and you can feel what the person's feeling in this scene without having to rely on CGI effects, which really, it's gone from just having a little bit of enhancements to everything is CGI now. And it looks, once you start seeing, Transformers and dinosaurs and things all CGI, it's just not that appealing anymore. As far as I'm concerned.
No, I think some of the best things I've been seeing in the last couple of years is at least the return to trying to bring back practical effects. I mean, digital definitely belongs in a lot of what we do today, especially in terms of safety concerns and things. There's no way you could do it without digital, but I like J.J. Abrams with the Force Awakens, bringing back actual people in costumes and suits and stuff, and people manipulating puppets to have creatures rather than just all digital.
Yeah,
it's much more difficult, I think, to make a scene like that. But it's also, it feels more real.
It does. It does, 100%. I don't know if it's because something's actually there
over time.
Yeah, it really does.
But, and I know we've diverged, but we'll wrap this up. I will still, to this day, say that the best Yoda performance is the puppet Yoda. The digital Yoda is not anywhere as good as the puppet. When I watch Empire Strikes Back, I forget within seconds that's Frank Oz using a Muppet. It's not
underneath the floor with the.
I forget to the point that when he gets serious, when he starts lighting into Luke, and he's got that look on his face and looks like I'm not afraid. He's like, "Oh, you will be.
You will be. You will be."
I'm like, "Holy shit!" I feel it like through me. I'm like, "Oh, he chilled my." Just saying that, and I'm sitting over here on the couch.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, we all love our movies, and we love that. And I'm glad you brought up the moviesbyminutes.com website because there are a lot of really cool movies being broken down like this 1 minute at a time. Walt, let's wrap up and tell everybody how people can learn a little bit more about the Wilder Ride.
Well, you can always learn more about us at www. You're welcome. Facebook.com/The Wilder Ride. But since it's Friday, we're going to remind you that one thing you can do to help us out, be a part of our team, is to go to patreon.com/The Wilder Ride. Find some opportunities to be a part of the team. We do have some expenses that are associated with this, and even if you can just give $1 a month, that would be a huge help to us and help us continue to provide these great insights and whatever else it is that we provide.
Yeah, the insights and I don't know, whatever else. We're light on the insights, but heavy on the stupidity. So anyway,
I think we have our new tagline.
We have our formula. But we do appreciate...
speaking of taglines, if I just jump in 1 second.
Sure.
The actual tagline for this movie was the scariest comedy of all time. I think I saw that on IMDb. But on the DVD, it says the funniest comedy of all time. So I don't know if somebody is messing around. They put the wrong word in there. But on the Blu-ray, all it says is a Mel Brooks film, sort of in lights.
Yeah, I think every iteration of this, as they've been released, has had a different tagline.
Really?
I think so. Yeah, because I've seen several different versions of it. I think I own 2 different.
I've got a homework assignment for you, Walt. If you can write down all the taglines, we'll put a poll up. What is the best tagline for Young Frankenstein?
Yeah, I'll do that this week.
All right, well, we'll release it with episode 85. How about that?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, Dave, thanks so much for being with us this week. We appreciate it for at least the tail end of the week and closing out and getting ready for the weekend.
Thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun.
It's awesome having guests like you who are so passionate about what we do. Guys, come back Monday. We will continue this. We are moving ever closer towards the end of the movie. We have some news. Minute 86 Monday. As the lift continues to lower, we are going to see who's actually on it, and we are going to end with the return of somebody we haven't seen since minute number 14, Elizabeth, who says, "Darling," as she comes out of the car toward her fiancé. So a lot happens in minute number 86, and a lot happens next week. So come on back here and join us once again on the Wilder Ride. What is it?
Automation is awesome.
Get between the sheets.